a country well situated on the Adriatic coast with over 1,200 islands, crystal clear water and a relaxed summer flair. But this country not only impresses with its beaches, but also with its lowlands, which are separated from the coast by the Dinaric mountain region. It is located in Central and Southern Europe and borders Slovenia, Hungary, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro and the Adriatic Sea. The country is part of the European Union, NATO and since 2023 the Schengen area. From Roman to Ottoman rule and Austrian to Yugoslav rule, it has been one of the most influential countries on the Balkan peninsulas since its independence in 1991 and today is a proud and modern nation. But what is Croatia really like and what should you bear in mind when moving to Croatia? About 3.8 million people live in Croatia. The population growth is negative 3.7% per year and the median age is at around 45 years, which underlines the aging population. The largest city is by far the capital Zagreb, followed by Split, Rijeka, Osijek and Zadar. The official language is Croatian, but there are also some recognized regional languages such as Serbian, Italian and Hungarian. Apart from Croatia itself, around 1.2 million Croatians live in the USA, followed by 500,000 each in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Germany. In 2021, over 40,000 people left the country, with women making up the majority of immigrants. The most important destination countries were Germany with over 30% of immigrants, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Austria and Kosovo. The largest number of people who emigrated abroad were between 20 and 39 years old, so rather young people. How does the AI see Croatia? This seems to be the stone wall of Dubrovnik, the Plitvice Lake National Park with its waterfalls, a medieval village on the Istrian Peninsula, a picturesque village on the country's coast, and again a picture of Dubrovnik in spring. This is how the AI sees Croatia. Croatia's most important export partners are Germany, Italy, Slovenia, Bosnia and Hungary, while its most important import partners are Italy, Germany, Slovenia, Hungary and Austria. The main exports are transportation equipment, machinery and textiles, while machinery, transport equipment and chemicals are imported. This is not a contradiction as 18% of the workforce in Croatia is employed in industry, meaning that many industrial goods are imported and exported. Tourism is another essential part of the Croatian economy, as Croatia is one of the most visited destinations in the Mediterranean. And this is not surprising given the impressive coastline from Istria down to Dubrovnik. In 2023, over 20 million people visited the country, more than 5 times the population of the country itself. By the way, by far the most tourists come from Germany, followed by Slovenians, Austrians and Italians. But it's not only the coast that attracts tourists, but also the Trakošćan castle in the north of the country, the Plitvice Lakes National Park in the interior, the Paklenica National Park, the Pula Arena and the Dinaric Alps in general. Some cities in the country even suffer from over-tourism, such as the Old Town in Dubrovnik, which according to some sources is the most visited city in Europe relative to its population, even ahead of Venice and Barcelona. It records as many as 36 tourist overnight stays annually per inhabitant of the city. Did you know that the Adriatic Sea of Croatia's coast is one of the cleanest seas in the world? This is because many beaches have been awarded with the blue flag. This is a standard of cleanliness of bathing water. Croatia is also home to the second longest stone wall in the world after the Great Wall in China. It is located in the medieval town of Ston in the south of the country. And the town of Vinkovci in eastern Croatia is one of the oldest continuously inhabited towns in Europe, over 8,000 years. Despite the relatively small size of the country, Croatia is surprisingly diverse. It can be divided into 3 zones: the Pannonian lowlands in the north and northeast of the country, with flatlands and smaller mountains, the Dinaric mountain region where the Dinara, the highest peak of the country, is located, and of course the Adriatic coast with over 1,200 islands, the largest of which are Krk and Cres, both almost exactly the same size. The most important rivers are the Sava and the Drava, and the largest lake is the Vransko jezero. Unfortunately, unlike the coast, the rivers in the north of the country suffer from pollution, the most affected being the Sava between Zagreb and Sisak. Croatia is extremely rich in water. It is one of the 30 countries with the most water in the world. It ranks 3rd in Europe in terms of renewable water reserves per capita. Considering the 3 landscape zones, it is not surprising that the country can also be divided into 3 climatic zones. The more continental climate in the interior of the country, with large temperature differences between summer and winter, the mountain climate of the Dinaric Alps with lots of snowfall, fog and high humidity, and the Mediterranean climate with sunny and dry summers and mild and rainy winters. Here on the coast there is also slightly more rainfall than inland. Here are a few interesting customs. In Croatia, you should eat something with a spoon at least once a week. Because it is believed to be good for digestion, at least one meal a week usually consists of a stew or similar dish eaten with a spoon. In Croatia, slippers are worn practically without exception. Socks are not enough. And barefoot, basically a death sentence. Croatia has oil and natural gas reserves in the east of the country, but these are not sufficient to cover domestic consumption, which is why Croatia is dependent on imports. Until the early 2000s, the aluminium ore bauxite was mined in the Dinaric mountain region, and coal was also mined, mainly in Istria and the north of the country. Today, however, the deposits are exhausted. But clay, stone and gravel are still mined in Croatia, and there are deposits of gypsum and quartz. And as mentioned, Croatia is blessed with many water resources, and timber and fish products are also exported. The top 6 must-see places in Croatia are Dubrovnik, also known as the Pearl of the Adriatic, with its historic old town, the city walls, and the largest main street called Stradun in the old town. The Plitvice Lakes National Parks, with its green lakes and waterfalls, is also on the list, as is the city of Split with its lively old town right by the sea. The Krka National Park, known for its spectacular waterfalls, which visitors used to be able to swim through, is just as eye-catching as the island of Hvar, which offers idyllic beaches, lavender fields, and a vibrant nightlife. And of course, the capital is not to be missed. The country is characterized by a high level of biodiversity, which is among the richest in Europe. Around 40,000 species are currently documented, although the actual number is estimated at up to 100,000. This is due to the different landscapes and regions mentioned before. Despite the 8 national parks and 11 protected nature parks, there has been a decline in biodiversity due to factors such as habitat loss, invasive species and pollution. The Croatian government has therefore developed strategies to stop these trends and preserve the country's rich biodiversity. Around 44% of the country is covered by forests, practically all of which are still in their natural state, so untouched. And that is a rare feature in Europe. Croatia will not leave you hungry, as its cuisine combines Mediterranean, Central European and Balkan influences. In the coastal regions you can enjoy Mediterranean species such as fresh fish, seafood and olive oil, while inland the food tends to be more substantial. Meat dishes, stews and pasta dishes for instance. Cevapi served with ajvar and onion, peka, a traditional dish of meat, potatoes and vegetables, or burek is a must when visiting Croatia. Pašticada, sirni risotto or sarma are also worth trying. Croatia will not leave you hungry as its cuisine combines Mediterranean, Central European and Balkan influences. Let's move on to the costs. If you live off $5,000 a month in Los Angeles, you'll need about $2,200 for the same lifestyle in the Croatian capital. This makes life around 55% cheaper. Of course, you have to put this in relation to the median salary of 600 euros a month, so you earn significantly less too. According to my research, a cashier in the capital earns around 600 euros a month in Zagreb. Of course, these costs vary depending on where you are in the country. The upsides of moving to Croatia? Apart from the natural beauty along the Mediterranean coastline, the mountains and the country's forests, you'll also benefit from the lower cost of living and high quality of life. Safety is also an important aspect, as Croatia is one of the safest countries in Europe. It is also safe in a global context, as it is ranked the 15th safest country in the world in the Global Peace Index. The healthcare system in Croatia is well developed and offers good medical care. And last but not least, the hospitality of the Croatians is a great advantage. The locals are known for their openness and willingness to help, and I have often experienced this myself. However, there are also some downsides to consider, such as economic factors, bureaucracy, the language barrier, and the big differences between the seasons, which have different effects depending on your living situation. Finding well-paid work in Croatia is not easy, which is why many well-educated young workers leave the country. And even if the costs are low, so are the local wages. So it makes sense to move with savings. Administrative procedures can take weeks, and processes are not always transparent. There are also reports of many administrative hurdles for immigrants, although there are improvements. The difference in seasons is also an issue. The coastal regions are full of life in summer, but empty in winter. Many restaurants, cafes and stores close from October to April, and social life comes to a standstill in many tourist regions. If you want to live in Croatia all year round, you should think carefully about which region best suits your desired lifestyle. Public transport is also not in good condition everywhere, and without your own car it can be difficult to remain flexible outside of urban areas. What could moving to Croatia actually look like, and what should I bear in mind? European Union citizens can stay in the country for up to 90 days without registering. However, they must register with the local police station at least 8 days before this period expires. For longer stays, a biometric residence card is issued, which is valid for up to 5 years. It leads to a permanent residence permit after 5 years. The document required for registration include a valid passport or identity card, proof of financial means, health insurance, and a registered address in Croatia. In addition, the personal identification number is required for administrative procedures. Health insurance is mandatory in Croatia, so make sure you have health insurance. Of course, private health insurance can be a useful supplement to cover additional benefits. The choice of your future place of residence is crucial, as there are differences within the country. The coastal regions of Istria, for instance, are more popular and more expensive, while the interior is less expensive. Apartments are usually rented fully furnished, so that a costly move is often not necessary. Language skills are of course also important for integration. English is widely spoken in the cities and on the coast, but Croatian is easier to get by with, especially outside the tourist areas. Learning the language is also a sign of your willingness to integrate. It depends on what financial means you have when you move to Croatia and how you want to finance your life in Croatia. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you next time.